Hey everyone, welcome to another show. It's been a long hiatus of the KYTDHL show with my most common guest, Derek Tonin.
Hi,
Welcome
everybody.
to the show.
Thanks.
So I just wanted to have someone to bounce off a lot of things that have been lingering in my head, even though we've been chatting a lot, obviously, about DDHL and the strategy on Facebook, but it's nice to sometimes just like be able to talk about certain things. And we're going to talk about sheets. The two things I want to cover is just like a little bit about the sheet progression and how I think about trading and how maybe sheets can make us look at trades a certain way. But let's start with what's the latest development in Derek Tech.
Well, I've shared with a few people. I made my own like JFresh player cards, which basically tell you for any given player if they're a good player, it tells you they're like 100%, meaning they're better than every other player that's currently rostered in the league. And if they're like 1%, it means they basically really suck ass, except maybe compared to one other guy currently rostered. But then it doesn't take into account free agents. So there might be agents who are better than that guy out there. I'm too lazy to add all the free agents because, as I've told you, you and Gas make it a nightmare to manage who's a free agent in my sheet.
I should, I don't know. So what I've done, I've told you, I think I don't know how hard it is. Like I haven't, so I'm the reverse where I haven't done too much. I've done basic Excel work when I was
Yeah.
playing a lot of DFS. I did use it to like merge certain projections, but I didn't use it to necessarily to grab too many complicated things. But you've used the NHL API, right?
Yeah, NHL Edge APIs, none of the really fancy ones. They're just basic stat APIs. I'll share my screen if because I'm sure there's some people here watching this who have not seen these player cards. So I'll figure out how to share my screen in this fancy thing you got. So I got Connor Mc. Oh,
Oh,
what's happening
here.
here? There we go.
Uh,
So I got Connor McDavid pulled up, and basically what this player card is doing is it's looking. I've given some of them cute nicknames like Clutch just means game-winning goals, and yeah, I mean the rest of it should be pretty obvious. All this is saying is Connor McDavid is better than 99% of the other players currently rostered. He is in the he's 70%. He's better than 69% of the other players at goal scoring. He's better than 81% of the other players at scoring assists. He's better than most of the league at everything except blocks. But important is this is only measured against other forwards. I specifically went and told my sheet I don't want to compare Connor McDavid's blocks against, I don't know, Jacob Truba, right? That's not a fair comparison. I just want to see how he's doing against other forwards. So then, if we look at Jacob Truba,
oh, nice.
uh,
I like it.
we can see that he is in the top half of defensemen. He's better than 71% of defensemen currently rostered. And you can see he's in the top half of goal scoring. He's average at playmaking, top half of shots on goal, top half of special team points. He's got some game winning goals. And clearly he is valuable at hits and blocks. That's where he's best. So this is kind of what I've built. Uh, Actually doing the numbers was the fastest part. It was figuring out how to get the pictures to update whenever I changed it. That took way more time. And I've spent more time making this look pretty than I have coding it at this point. But there is a lot. You mentioned, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. You mentioned that the NHL APIs, it took a lot of work to figure out how to pull those in, how much of them I had to pull in. At this point, I'm using 7 different APIs because I'm using 3 years of scoring data, 3 years of truculence type data, And then I have another one that's called the BIOS API, which is, like player information, like where they were born, where they went to school. I'm using that to pull their where they were drafted and what their age is, because I give boosts to younger players to basically say, like, Celebrini, he is super young. He's probably going to keep getting better to some degree, so he will have a slightly higher rating than a guy like Crosby, who is also doing great, but is clearly not going to keep getting better. Yeah.
Wow. And, but they're all using all the APIs are the official NHL ones.
Yep.
Yeah, I was using it for
I'll
betting purposes at some point because it actually can grab the play by play of every game.
yeah.
So I was using it to like calculate like different things that maybe could be predictive from a game betting standpoint.
I'll share my screen just to show what one of these APIs look like, just for the fun of it, right? It's super basic, and it comes in really dirty, so that's why I had to do a lot to clean it up. So I won't show off all the code, but if I go in A1 here, you see I'm kind of running a function, and I tell it which year I want it to pull in. So this is for 24-25, and then this is a scoring API, so it pulls in assists, even strength goals, even strength points, face off, last name, OT goals, penalty minutes, player ID, da 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 da. Then finally in the X column, I get their full name. So that's where I'm actually referencing who we have versus what's here. And yeah, that's basically it. It also has time on ice, but I haven't found a way to use that yet.
I, well, I've told you like Python allows me to like act as a browser guy and
Yeah.
download the players file from Fantrax. The
Mm.
So that's how I'm able to grab really quickly the most recent like because you download it and there's a column status and it has FA, W, and all our names, so you can actually quickly once if you integrate that part, that's going to make it like a lot easier
I
because you
told
can
you,
have
I want to
one
see your
snap,
sheet.
one snap, and you're going to get all the process.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about trading because I wrote a long piece sometime middle of last year or a few months ago that Barry said like went over his head because it was very convoluted. But I think I found a way to simplify what I was thinking here, and then you'll let me know. Because I think often, well, talk about I want to talk about so many things related to trading, like the history of trading and how like back in the day when we started the league, it was all about like being scared not to get fleeced, right? Or we have to like evaluate a trade. Everyone has to, the rest of the league evaluates it as a winner or loser. So like it's almost like there's this background thing where it's all about like taking advantage of the other GM. Like you always have that in the back of your mind instead of what we've evolved to have good GM relationships moving forward, which is like what do you need versus what do I need and how do we help each other reach our goals versus like let me take off this guy that's like that is completely underrated by Ninot and like or whatever and steal it from him, right?
I think there's still some piece of people trying to do that.
Right.
Uh, I think that we're just a little more sly about how we do it, but like Gabi trying to trade Matthews and Will Smith for who do you get back?
Kachuk, right?
Kachuk. Like, I don't think Gabi was thinking of I'm trying to screw over Calvin, but I know both Calvin and I were like, yeah, we want that trade. How do we get that trade? Uh, like, screw what Gabi needs. He's doing something dumb there.
Right.
Um, but so I think there is still an aspect of we're not all just being the best trade partners we can be, but I agree generally with your sentiment. And I think that it exploded this year, especially after the Barry Gabi trade, where they both like we've been talking endlessly about archetypes, and then finally Barry and Gabi, Barry especially being involved in podcasts that talk about archetypes, they both go, shit, we both need to overhaul our teams. And they figured out what both of their needs were, and they pull off this gigantic trade, and that sends Gabi off on an odyssey to try and finish his archetype. And I was looking at a certain archetype, but then Gabi trades me Quinn Hughes. Thank you, Gabi. Uh, which is totally changing the archetype I want to go for. And I think that the whole emphasis of archetypes, which I think was only possible when we got to 12 categories, really changed how we look at our team construction, and that just kind of blew up the trade market.
Yeah, yeah, that's completely true. That's a great summary of what has happened. So the thing I was talking about last year was basically how we view trade values, and like the classic that we all go to as a baseline is either compare it to historical trades, right, or see how much this player is worth versus who you can get in the draft.
Yeah.
And I think the more, what I was trying to say was the more nuanced level is how it increases each person's win percentage, expected win percentage of a chimp,
Yeah.
over, let's say, the long run. So that's why it makes me, it sort of gets to, when you think about it, it makes sense why at the end of the trade deadline, why someone that is on paper worth like a third round pick in the draft, if you're comparing it 1-to-1, you might not get anything for it because that guy no longer increases the win percentage of any of the remaining teams because they've already bolstered their lineup enough. So at that point, it's like, it's really more, that's what I mean. It's like, it's more about the chance that it increases it increases the win percentage of like the market overall, which is why people want to trade earlier. And when it comes to, like, it made me rethink, maybe we're either trading picks too high or too low, because from a perspective of a buyer, right? If you're buying and it's someone that you don't plan to keep, its value, it's like total value to you, is not like the player in a vacuum and how good he is. It's like how much value added for the remaining weeks and the playoffs. And that's what I'm thinking about both of all our sheets is like, we have we're getting to a point where you can tell, like, you at this point, I think you can just vaguely match up two teams in their rosters and see who probably has an edge. And then at some point, maybe even now, I don't know if you can do that now, where you can like see a trade if that increases your win percentage of a given week or a matchup. And I think at some point you'd be able to do that if it currently isn't able to do that, right?
You mean in my sheet?
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
the overall problem with my sheet is that I still ignore goaltending. So if two teams are, if like, I'm just looking at the,
okay,
I do have a,
ignoring, even I ignore goalies actually. So like ignoring goalies,
Yeah.
you can still predict skater categories, how like at some point the percentage that it gives you extra by having this guy over this other guy.
yeah,
Right.
like I'm looking at, just as an example, I'm looking at John's comparison against every other team right now. And what I'm seeing is John is favored against everybody except two teams really decisively. So if John faces, just as an example, if Calvin does get into the playoffs, John would win 7 categories against him, and it doesn't matter what Calvin does because 7 is more than 5. John wins that playoff round. But the two teams that John could struggle with, and it would come down to goaltending, is Ben, who John is only expected to win 5 categories against Ben, and then it does come down to goaltending. And Jake, John is only expected to win 4 categories against Jake, and then that means Jake. Hold on, let me check. Jake is favored. What is Jake's name in here? Oh yeah, Jake is also favored in 4 categories. It's a 4-4 split, and then it comes down to the 4 goalie categories to see who would win the damn thing.
So
That's what I have.
yes, so you do have
But
something like
yeah, but it's all skaters, and even then, it's like, it's factoring in bench players and farm. Like, you don't know how reliable it is, because you don't know who people are going to play week to week. But the thing I would say, you were mentioning trade value. Like, I totally agree. It's better to trade early because once a pick's traded, you can't trade it twice. Like, this is a problem John had last year where he ran out of picks to trade and he couldn't do anything late in the year. Uh, so like as a selling team like me, I want to get John's picks early because they might not be around late. Um, and then the other thing you said that I wanted to comment on quickly is the like, for you, it might not make a whole lot of sense to trade a third round pick for Owen Tippett, knowing that you're not going to keep the guy and you're only going to have him for a few weeks in the playoffs. But for me, I want to get the most value out of Owen Tippett as I fucking can. So I don't care if you don't want to pay more for a guy like that. I will try to get that, and I'll try to get it from anyone I can get it from.
right. I guess what
Yeah.
I'm saying is if your sheet says he's a first, right,
Yes.
but you have to downsize it a bit based on the fact that you accept that his value is tied to it's like March or so, right? Last year I traded, he got injured, but I was trading him because of the value that he might give me for the remainder of the season. And um, but like at some point we look at because like I think of how we've evolved and how we think about mid round picks and late picks, how we think those are sort of like up in the air sometimes. But I think that might evolve back to valuing those picks because now we know that we can target certain free agencies that are pretty high value, right? That are like before it's just a crapshoot because we're just hoping someone is like this traditional breakthrough player. But now we've
Yeah.
evolved to know that there's a lot of high block guys, high hit guys, high shots guys that you might want in the fifth, sixth, seventh, and it's not really a crapshoot because those categories are more meaningful, are more predictable now. So I think we're gonna go like if not already, we're gonna come back to mid picks being more valuable, even though maybe some GMs don't realize it yet. But I think back to the next year's draft, we're gonna feel like, oh my, I really need to grab this high blocks guy, but I don't have a lot of fifth and sixth because I thought they were shit.
My my feeling, like I agree with you, it might come around, but uh, my feeling historically has been the first 3 rounds is when there's the most no doubt kind of guys, and it's kind of easy. Like, you get a Darnell Nurse. He's not an amazing, oh my God, gonna win you everything kind of guy, but he is a damn solid defenseman, and you're not gonna regret that pick. So picking him in the first 3 rounds makes total sense. I think it's when you get into the fourth through 10th rounds when people are just kind of gambling. And I think that the more we start to see like analysis and people going, oh yes, I need these guys, just like you said, the 2 2 and 2 guy, that's going to be a really great 5th round pick. Okay, great. However, as long as you got Donato going in the first round, it doesn't matter. Everything's a crapshoot.
Um, but to finish one earlier point, I was saying before I got on a different tangent as well. Like, let's say Owen Tippett on your sheet is like first round plus, right?
Yeah.
But that's like his value again in a vacuum versus like the value of Jake. Let's say he's not planning to keep him. He can't like I mean I guess he could give whatever he wants, but like technically the value he is getting is like that little boost over, and obviously he's calculated the rest of the schedule as we keep all of us love to mention his main skill set and seeing where Owen Tippett fits in the final 6 weeks of the playoffs and what boost that gives him versus like the win percentage for the future that he's willing to give up right with the third round pick. And I think there's guys basically that were I think Nurse was a really high pick, right? Let's see. Well, he's having a an okay-ish season, but I
Gonna
believe
you as you name guys, I'm gonna tell you what my sheet says.
Oh,
My sheet says Nurse is a keeper.
okay.
Whoever, if Dave drops Nurse, I mean Dave might have 12 players better than Nurse, but my sheet says he's a keeper.
Okay, your sheet says it's a keeper, and that's great. We can have some context. I have to pull up the draft grid. What about Seth Jones? Let's off the top of my head now.
Last time I checked, yeah, he is borderline a keeper, very borderline, and
Okay,
I don't think I will keep him, but I still have some decisions to make on my keepers.
right. So where's Nurse? Nurse was a third round pick, and Seth Jones the first round pick, or
Yeah,
even like evaluated as a keeper to you, right? Level. But
yeah,
all I'm saying is like, and I'm not saying anything earth shattering, but these things are like their values like in a vacuum, or but for a playoff team, right? You're not going to get, at least I don't, based on his season so far. Also, you're not going to get a first round pick for
yeah.
Seth Jones, right? Because you're
I'm
getting
not.
right. So like the playoff team is just not going to get the where they would be drafted type value because their playoff value isn't that high for a lot of the playoff teams that we have. But I mean, some of them do require Seth Jones to finish their team though. So I wouldn't say every
Yeah,
team. There might be a team that really needs them, and in that case, they might be getting a first round worth if they have this hole in their decor.
absolutely. So like what I want to say about that is like I told you, Owen Tippett on my sheet here, Tippett is keeper level. He's better than Seth Jones. But like I had this conversation with Jake. We're not at the point yet where people consider a guy like Owen Tippett to be a keeper level guy. And second and first round picks are reserved for the Crosbys of the world. They're not reserved for the Tippets of the world. So uh, until, and I don't think it's ever going to happen, but if there is ever a day where we go, actually, Owen Tippett is just slightly under, who's a name here? Uh, Beckett Seneke. Then maybe people will recognize like, oh yeah, Tippett's actually worth more than a third. But the thing is, this sheet is powerful in the right hands, I think. I would never want to put this in like Calvin's hands, who would be like, well, actually, this guy's better than this guy. So what are you offering me? That's a joke. Like,
Um, yeah. It also the reason this topic came up to me also because I was thinking about offering trades, right? Offering starting to propose. We're getting to that point where I have to maybe make a one or two minor grabs. But it's like I had to evaluate not just looking at where the guy was drafted and how much a typical pick is worth. I had to really think how much value does he add over my current roster. And
yeah,
for a lot of players, it's like even if they're a big name, like not that much.
yeah,
Like Calvin has really good guys. Like Heischer is on the trade block. Like he has 100 shots, decent points, not point per game, but is he much better than let's say Kadri or Eriksson Ek that I have that are my worst centers? Not
yeah.
enough in a lot of those categories for it to be worth like a lot. So it's like this tension, this struggle of what he might be worth if you compare with draft picks, but what he's worth to me, right? So I'm struggling with that because I think it might be a low ball because like these players I'm probably not keeping. So it's like, but I don't want to be
I
disrespectful, but it's like that's what the value they bring to my team over the next six playoff weeks. It's just a small bump.
I wish I had these problems that you have, Carr, having a team that's so good that I can't improve it. But the like I think it is a quandary because oh, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
All
Okay.
right, camera went off. Uh like take any selling team, take Calvin, take me. If Heischer's on the block, I mean, I know Calvin. He's going to want to have the best player from the trade. He doesn't want picks, whatever it's going to be, right? But um, and you look at Heischer and you're like, well, he doesn't improve me in any way. Why am I going to offer anything? Um, it's a really hard struggle where it's like you got to be one of those teams that's good enough to make the playoffs, but have enough of a hole that you're willing to pay to fill it.
Right.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
you might not be that team.
Right.
You know, especially you, where part of the reason you were out of the playoffs for the first 10 weeks of the season or whatever it was because, you know, Barkov was hurt and you had holes that, you know, you knew they were going to come back or play better, but they just weren't there yet. Um, Obviously, I hope you don't win again this year. But I think Jake has a different mindset, and I think Jake is really the class of the league right now. Just the way he's built his team and the way he's looking at the playoffs, like Jake doesn't care if that player is not a huge improvement for him statistically. He cares about the schedule because he knows that those 2, 3 extra games in the final weeks of the year is what can make or break his playoff chances, right? And I know you think like that too. You're just being humble right now.
Yeah, he is on my sheet the significant favorite. So he's clearly
Yeah.
done something right since the start of the season with a few of his moves. Even though I think one move I thought was odd, but ultimately everything else was like really good. Like on paper, just because I think like you don't adjust for you're just looking at who tops who, right, in a given matchup in terms of like their
Oh,
raw number versus their raw number.
so
Like,
basically to talk about like the under the hood kind of math, right? I pull in 3 years worth of data on every statistic. I assign a weighting to the most previous. The current year gets the heaviest weighting, but
whoa,
previous years take a little bit into account as well. And then, you know, I list off all the players on your team. I list off all the players on Jake's team. I have projected stats for each player based on those 3 years worth of data. And then the
nice.
sums of those projections is how I do the matchup.
But you repeat again. How do you consider the bench for that
So
calculation?
right now, when I was going through who I think John is against, it's really only considering keepers because I don't know any
What?
other way to keep out the bench. And the keepers was determined by Jake. Jake ran through everyone's team and told me who he thought the keeper should be.
But like skater keepers only, like that they have the same amount of skater keepers for it to be fair, then, right?
Yeah, and not all teams do. There's a couple of teams where a couple of more goalies were named than skaters, so it's a bit of a flaw.
I think I think you could just get away with taking who they're even if they change, right? Obviously they're gonna adjust based on the schedule, but I think you could get away with like taking their latest like active roster, right? Because then you're counting the actual four centers, four left wing, four right wing, 6D. But the fact that
Yeah.
it's
So
projecting
I
is
have a
like it's
different
pretty
view
fancy.
where I have a different view where I do pull in like basically most people's current roster. The problem is really gas, where you can never predict who the fuck he's gonna play.
Right. Okay. Got you.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think the reason why my stuff might differ is because I place a lot of weight on the more predictable categories, and I think basically Jake can right now has the most power to rotate his roster against whoever he's playing to be good in hits, blocks, and shots more than John. And because of that, that gives them like this huge, in my opinion, huge edge. I think he's a significant favorite, and but not favorite enough that he's like outright going to win this. There's enough variance, and we're seeing it there. I got crushed by Calvin, so there's enough variance there. But he is my pick to repeat, which is yeah he'll get to number two in a row if my stuff is correct. But it's not going to be an easy road, anyways, especially with Gas and John in the way. But those three are clearly, well, not really. I'm wrong, because like I've been telling you how early in the season I thought Ben and Dave were fine on paper. They had like the pieces to be fine, and so
Yeah.
them running into Ben or Dave is not going to be a cakewalk either, heading
True.
into the playoffs.
I agree with everything you said. Like looking at my numbers here, it's like the two teams that John has trouble with are Jake and Ben. Looking at Gas, actually Gas has a tough road because I mean, especially because my sheet doesn't know who Gas is going to play anytime. Jake has problems with John and Dave. Looking at, I mean, who else is in the top four? Derek. Derek needs his goaltending to come through because he's iffy against everybody. Uh, Gabi is in trouble against everybody except Gas. Gabi has a good record against Gas. And you better hope you face Gas and Gabi.
I think, yeah, I think Blaze is overrated now because of the early Rangers start of the Shesterkin. Now that they're just gonna demolish that team,
Yeah.
he's left with Greaves and Skinner. Especially, I think Shesterkin was hurt last I checked. So that's, if that's maintains, that's like a dip. That's a huge dip in goaltending power, and I would see him as possibly the weakest team on paper heading into the playoffs.
Just taking a look at it. I'm always looking for rock stallions. I'm like, oh yeah, right, tricolor. Um, I
Okay, I'll be right back.
I mean,
Actually, someone rung my
oh
door.
sure. So, I hope everyone's enjoyed the latest episode of the DDHL podcast featuring Car Young and Derek. Sometimes, uh, I hope you all are having a fantastic day. Uh, you know, I really want to see Car Young's sheet. I said I'll show you mine if you show me yours. But I think his wife got upset at that. I'm not really sure. Um, anyway, my wife said it's fine if I show it to other guys, but I don't really want to. Anyway, hi, Car.
I think I'll check this later, but I think that'll do it for the show.
Yeah, sounds
We
good.
had a lot of great talking points that can sprout more discussion. But like, yeah, you made me realize something that I didn't think about. It's like if I can't fit a trade, it's just because I'm not the perfect trade partner for this person.
Yeah.
I think you made me have this huge takeaway. Like if I'm forcing it too hard with someone like Calvin, it's because I'm not the team he needs to trade with.
Yep, that's it. I mean, who did he trade Thompson to?
To John, but John had
Yeah,
like these pieces that he wanted, right?
so
And
it made sense for John. Yeah, I,
like,
I he offered Thompson to me, and at the price he was asking, it made no sense for me. But if John could pull that off, then it makes sense.
I think normally I lean towards not trading like a core young keeper. And so, like, if I was in John's shoes, I just typically, even if it's like maybe slightly better, it's like it will take hard for me to trade away something like Adam Fox, right? Like, it would be tough for me, like a perennial keeper on my team, even if you're offering me something pretty good, it would take me a long time. It's like I'm sort of making a lateral move with someone I've grown attached to and built my team around. It would be hard to
Yeah,
pull off. All
yeah.
right,
I
thanks
mean,
again.
I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense for John, but it made more sense for John than it did for me.
Wait, the sheet said Calvin won.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
just barely. It was a pretty
All
even
right.
trade.
All right. Thanks,
It's not a
Derek.
fleece. Thanks. We could have